morning, everyone, and welcome back to this morning's hearings at the TRRC. Imam, you have the floor. Imam Jallo, please.
Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin arrahmanir rahim maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Allahu allazi ja'ala lakum al-ardha qararan was-samaa'a bina'an was-sawwarakum fa ahsanu suwarakum wa razaqakum min tayyibat zalikumullahu rabbukum fatabarakallahu rabbul alamin huwa al-hayyu la ilaha illa huwa fa'duhu mukhlisina lahu ad-din alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina azaban nar. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifuna wa salamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Amen.
Shukran, Imam Jallo. Bishop, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Lord God of power and might, the creator of the whole universe, the I am that I am, the King of kings and the Lord of lords. We continue to submit ourselves under your direction, your guidance, your protection, and your Holy Spirit's power. We continue to ask that you will be with us in the sitting of the TRRC as we continue to hear revelations of things that has happened here. We continue to ask that you will grant patience to the populace and that you will also uphold each and every one of us and that you will heal the land and heal the nation and forgive our weaknesses and our imperfections. This we ask through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Imam Bishop. Council, are we ready with this morning's witness? If we are, let's proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. We are ready to proceed with this morning's witness, and Horeja Balagay would lead that witness. Mr. Osa, kindly get the witness, please.
I, Ousman Badjie.
I, Ousman Badjie,
Do swear that.
I'll speak the truth.
I will speak the truth.
The whole truth,
And nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Badjie.
Good morning, Deputy Lead Counsel.
How are you this morning?
I'm fine, alhamdulillah.
Can I ask you to move the mic closer to your mouth as well so you can speak into it? Well, welcome to the TRRC.
Thank you.
We will begin your testimony this morning, but prior to that, I would like to remind you of a few of our rules.
Yeah.
We have talked about them before. You already know my name is Horeja Balagay. During our meeting yesterday, I mentioned to you that witnesses before the Commission have certain obligations. Paramount, above all, is the obligation to tell the truth. You've just taken an oath to tell the truth, and that means the whole truth. It is an offense to lie to the Commission or to mislead the Commission. And we spoke about that yesterday. So I assume that's something you know about and you understand your obligations before the Commission. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Similarly, we talked about the fact that during this entire process, you had the opportunity to review your statement. You made a few changes and you've signed the statement. Is that correct?
I'm yet to sign it.
You're yet to sign it. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. But you did make some changes this morning.
Indeed.
And so we have at least the printed copy where you made those changes. And we will endeavor to make sure that you sign it during the break. During your testimony, a few rules that you should be aware of. There's interpretation going on into the local languages. Therefore, I will ask that you speak slowly. I will do the same. and to allow a few seconds in between our speeches to ensure that there's no overlapping speech.
Well noted.
And you can leave your microphone on so that you don't have to keep switching it on and off. But I'm quite used to having to turn mine on and off, so that's fine. If at any point you do not understand any of my questions, or you would like me to repeat a question or clarify it, just let me know and I will do so. As we discuss, your testimony today will focus a lot on the April 10 and 11, 2000, the incident. But prior to that, as we do with all witnesses, I will ask you some background questions. It is your first testimony before the commission, so the commissioners would like to know who you are. So I'll ask you a few biographical details, a bit about your educational background, and then your career as a civil servant. Then we will address your victimization, and then we will focus on the April 2000 incident. For a lot of that incident, it will be obviously in your capacity and the role you had at the time, as well as what you observed as a direct witness. And that should conclude your testimony for today. Do you understand that, sir?
I did.
So we'll start your testimony. Can you please state for the record your full name?
My full name is Ousman Badjie.
Mr. Badjie, can you tell us when and where you were born?
I was born in Banjul on the 2nd of August 1967.
What is your current profession?
My current profession, I'm a project coordinator.
Who do you work for as project coordinator?
I'm working with a Senegalese partner in a project in Casamance.
Can you tell us briefly about your educational background? And we're really interested in where you attended school, as well as the years that you pursued your education, to the extent that you recall.
I did my primary education at the Senegalese primary school in Banjul from 1974 to 1980. That same year, I passed the common entrance, and I was supposed to be posted to the high school in Kaolack. Luckily for me, that same year, the Senegalese government offered 2 places for Gambians in the military high school in Saint Louis. We sat to the entry exam. I was among the 2 who were successful, and I decided to go to the military high school. We were there from 1980 to 88. When I sat to the baccalaureate A-level, came back home to serve my country as agreed with the Ministry of Defense. I joined the gendarmerie the same year, 1988, in July, and October of the same year, we went to the military academy in Thiès called École Nationale des Officiers d'Active. I was with retired Colonel Demba Ndiaye, former Chief of Protocol, Commissioner of Police Alassane Kouyaté. We did 2 years course and graduated in July 1990 as second lieutenant. We came back home and went to our unit, the Gambia National Gendarmerie. In 1991, I was lucky to be part of the first Gambian batch that went to Turkey with some of our senior officers, Ibrahim Malik Chongan, Suare, Captain Amadou Suare, and some of our junior officers as well, like Musambub, Lantombon Tamba, late Harry Valentine, late Sadibu Haidara, and many others. We attended the Turkish Land Forces Language School in Istanbul for 8 months. After completing the language course, the rest of the group went to Ankara for their gendarmerie professional course. Myself, Alaji Martin, then he was a sergeant, and Corporal Alaji Jaina, we went to Focha in Izmir for a gendarmerie commando course. We finished the course after 4 months training and returned back home to Banjul, where upon arrival we were posted to the Turkish Gendarmerie Training School under Major Karaduman.
At this point, did your rank change upon your arrival from Turkey? Or did you continue to remain a second lieutenant?
I remain a second lieutenant, but if you excuse me, can I refer to the promotion?
Yes, you may.
Yes, I remained a second lieutenant until 1st of January 1992, when I was promoted to lieutenant. And I was asked to train the first Gambian commando batch with the assistance of Alaji Martin and Corporal Jaina. We did the training at the training school for 4 months. We graduated the batch, presided over by late President, peace be upon him, Sir Dawda Jawara, at the Fajara barracks. After that training, the boys, some of them were posted at the State House as presidential guard officials.
After that, did you go abroad for any other training, military training?
Yes, I did. But prior to going, I started the second batch of commando training. After 1 month, I had to travel to Morocco from September 1993 to July 1994 for my gendarmerie officer's course. Upon completing the course, I returned home in July on the 15th of July 1994 and applied for my leave. I left Banjul on a Wednesday, I think it was on the 20th, to Dakar. Thursday, Friday, the coup d'etat of 1994 happened. As it is customary in the military, if such thing happens in your absence and you are an officer, you have to contact your unit and see what the situation is, which I did. But those 2 days I could not get anybody because the communication was cut off until Sunday, when I called the Fajara barracks, and I was lucky to have on the line Lieutenant Lantombon Tamba, who said, "Sir, where are you?" I said, "But you know that I'm on leave. And because of what I heard on RFI, that's why I'm calling to find out what the situation is." But I did not tell him that I was on my way. I left Dakar that same day and came to Banjul. On Monday, I reported to the Fajara barracks, and I was informed that I'll be posted at Farafenye military barracks. I was posted there. I was there for 1 month. I got called to say that I have to come back again to headquarters. I left the weekend, and on Monday I reported to Fajara barracks.
So I understand that throughout your career in the Gambia, you were a civil servant, as well as in addition to your military career. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So after you returned to Gambia, and in August you were posted at Fajara barracks, did you were you given any other position later that year?
Yes, after I returned from Farafenye, I received a call from the Ministry of Interior informing me that the then Minister, late Sadibu Haidara, wanted to see me. So I went to Banjul, and that day coincided with the very day that former Finance Minister Bibi Dabo came to join the government. And I was told Sadibu Haidara and former Vice Chairman Sana Sabali went to State House with Bibi Dabo. And I had to wait until Sadibu came back in the afternoon. And that's when he informed me that they have decided to post me, to transfer me to the police as Commissioner of Police.
For how long did you remain as Commissioner of Police?
As Commissioner, I was promoted to Commissioner of Police on the 8th of December 1994. I remained in that position up till January 1995 when I was arrested.
A point of clarification. As Commissioner of Police, what was your portfolio?
I was Commissioner of Police in charge of operations.
So you remained in that position for just over 1 month, and then you were arrested?
More than that, I think. Oh, yes, and I was arrested, 1995, yeah. January 1995, you're right.
Can you tell us about your arrest?
Okay, my arrest, I think if my memory serves me well, it was January 17, I'm not quite sure of the date, but it was the same day they arrested Sana Sabali and late Sadibu Haidara. Their arrest was in the morning while I was in my office at the police headquarters. And in the evening, usually when I close work, I will go to my mom at Hill Street. I was there till after 8. I left home and I was going back as on my routine round. At the junction Anglesey and Hagan, I met up with a pickup or a van, military police officers, and ASP Musambub was among them. He was the one, in fact, leading them to my house. And Musambub told me, "Sir, we came for you." I told them, "Can you allow me? We go together to the police headquarters. I will park the car and surrender the keys and we go." And they did that.
At that point, did they tell you why you were being arrested?
I was not told why I was arrested. I left the car at the police headquarters and we went. They drove and took us. Of course, in the car I met my colleague, late ASP Valentine, and some other army officers whom I don't know really.
Would that be Harry Valentine, who you mentioned earlier?
Harry Valentine was a police officer like me, but the military officers, I did not know them. And then we went to Yundum Barracks, which was very strange to me, because police officers finding themselves in a military cell is very unusual. And also unusual is a police officer being arrested by a military officer. It can only happen in the Gambia. We were detained at the Yundum Barracks for 1 week, incommunicado.
During that 1 week, did your family know where you were at all?
My family had no clue of my whereabouts.
Were you given access? I know you were held incommunicado, but I still have to ask a few questions. Were you given access to a lawyer, for instance?
We were not given access, neither informed of our right to have a lawyer.
During those 7 days, were you at any point told of the reason for your arrest?
We were never told of the reasons of our arrest.
Focusing still on those 7 days at Yundum Barracks, can you tell us about the conditions of detention in terms of where you were kept, the type of food you had access to, as well as other facilities that you may have been given, if at all?
We were given the military food they were cooking for the soldiers. Of course, the conditions are not like what we have at home. You just lie on the floor with some blankets and that's it. We were, however, allowed to take shower.
And after those 7 days, can you tell us what happened?
After those 7 days, we were transferred to Mile 2 at the remand wing.
When you arrived at Mile 2, were you told of the reason for your arrest?
We were not told of the reason. I was not told of the reason of my arrest.
Can you tell us how you were processed when you arrived at Mile 2?
When we arrived at Mile 2 at the remand wing, they just registered us, took our name, and also kept our belongings, watches, bangles, or if you have money also, you have to hand it over to them. They will record it to the prison warders.
And at this point, was it only you and Harry Valentine?
No, it was myself, Harry Valentine, late Captain Musa Molo Balde, and some other soldiers.
Who were arrested and transferred to Mile 2, or you met some of them at Mile 2?
Some of them we were together at the cell in Yundum, and we were transferred the same day to Mile 2, and we were in the same cell at the remand wing, where Captain Mamadou Marong also joined us, and additional soldiers later on were also sent to the remand wing, and we were in the same cell. I think if my memory serves me well, we were 10 in number in that cell.
Can you tell us about the conditions of detention at Mile 2 remand wing?
Yeah, Mile 2 remand wing, they had bunk beds with the plywood and a blanket, only one blanket.
So let's get this straight. You said bunk beds, but you've explained that there was plywood. What was the plywood resting on?
The plywood was resting on, they built with the blocks.
So a concrete.
Yes, concrete, and then the plywood is on it. That's where you lie usually, with a blanket.
At that point, you said there were 10 of you. Was there enough space in the cell for all of you to sleep?
Yes, we had enough space, contrary to the other cells. And of course, in it you have the chamber pot. When you have to do your personal admin at night, you have to use the chamber pot. I must say, of course, is contrary to military ethics for senior officers to share the same cell with junior officers, but that was the situation. We have no other option. Nonetheless, the junior officers also were very respectful because they were the one taking, in the morning, they take out the chamber pots to empty them and wash them for us.
And what about the other conditions at Mile 2 in terms of the food, ventilation, for example? Were you allowed to go outside? Tell us about those.
Yes, we were allowed to go outside. In the morning at 8 o'clock, they will come and open the cell, and we were allowed to exercise. We will be from 8 to 12 outside, and then the lunch will come. After the lunch, we take our lunch and get back into the cell. Of course, the food was not as good as what we used to have at home, but the good thing is we were allowed provisions from our family members, like corned beef, sardines, biscuits, and name it, but no food from home.
And during that time, I'm still referring to, let's say, the first few days or the first week at Mile 2, were you given access to a lawyer?
We are not given access to a lawyer.
Were you at any point in, let's say, the first few weeks informed of the reason for your arrest?
We were never informed of the reason of our arrest.
Can you tell us for how long you were detained at Mile 2 remand wing?
We were detained, I was detained for 640 days at the remand wing with Harry Valentine, Captain Mamadou Marong. But some of the soldiers were released before us.
So roughly speaking, that would be under 2 years, let's say,
under
but closer
2 years,
to
few months less
than 2 years.
2 years.
During that point, during that period of time, almost 2 years, were you charged at any point?
We were never charged.
Were you informed of the reason for your arrest?
We were not informed of the reason of our arrest.
Did you ever appear before a court of law?
Never appeared before any court of law.
At any point during that period, were you questioned?
1 year after, January 1996, we were taken to the NIA before a panel chaired by former CMC Pahabibou Mbaye.
Can you tell us about that?
The panel at the NIA was a mixed services panel. The one I can remember vividly is the chairman, Pahabibou Mbaye, CMC, and Chief Inspector Mambojang, who is now the paramount chief. The others were NIA officers, and most likely also some from the army. And during the interview, what they asked me is, what are my relationship with council members? And where was I the day they were arresting former Vice Chairman Sadibou Haidara and late Minister of Interior, former Vice Chairman Sana Sabali and late Interior Minister Sadibou Haidara? I told them the day of their arrest, I was at the police headquarters in my office. And what are your relationship with council members? I told them the council members, the soldiers, Lieutenant Singate, Sana Sabali, and the others, I never knew them before. But the chairman, Yaya Jammeh, he was my senior in the gendarmerie. And late Minister of Interior Sadibu Haidara was my junior in the gendarmerie, and we attended the course together in Turkey. That was what I knew about them.
Did they ask you any other questions as far as you recall?
I don't remember. Maybe they asked, but I don't remember the questions that followed. And after they asked me to write a statement, which I did and submitted to Mambojang.
But before that, still focusing on the types of questions you were asked, when they asked you those questions, where do you think they were going with that type of questioning?
The type of questions they were asking, they were trying to link me up with whatever they accused the vice chairman and the minister of interior.
That
was their intention.
That was your reading of the situation?
Yes, that was my reading of the situation.
But did they at any point tell you why?
They did not.
You said that you were asked to write a statement.
Mm-hmm.
Did you write your statement at the NIA that day?
Yes, I wrote it at the NIA that day and submitted it to Mambojang.
Do you recall if there was an independent witness present?
There was no independent witness, as far as I can recollect.
Can you tell us how that panel treated you during the time you spent at the NIA?
I must say they treated me with respect, to be quite honest.
Did anything happen to you while you were at the NIA?
Nothing happened to me while I was there.
So you said this event took place a year into your detention?
Yes.
And thereafter, presumably, you were sent back to Mile 2 Remand Wing, is that correct?
Yes, we were back to Remand Wing.
Let's focus a bit more on your family. During the time that you were at Mile 2, were you able to have family visits?
Yes, my elder brother used to visit me. He was the one bringing the provisions for me.
And how did it feel for you being at the Mile 2 Remand Wing for almost 2 years without being charged and not knowing what would happen to you, essentially?
Very frustrating.
Tell us a bit more about that.
Because normally if you arrest somebody, if not the same day, after 72 hours, you should be able to tell him or her the reason of his arrest and what you found him wanting for. But that never happened.
And you said after almost 2 years you were released. Please tell us about your release. How did that come about?
We were released, but few days before our release, we received a visit of the former Chief of Defense Staff, Colonel Babukar Jatta, and former Inspector General of Police, Mr. Juf, I think is Suleiman, Jibril Juf. What we noticed while we were in detention, when you see these two people visit the inmates or the detainees, either at the maximum security or at the remand wing, few days or some weeks after, you have imminent release of detainees. And that's what exactly happened after they left, after that visit. Few days after, Colonel Babukar Jatta came back, and that's how we were released on the 28th of October, 1996.
During those visits, including the one that finally led to your release, did they at any point tell you anything about either why you were there or what was expected of you if you were to be released?
No, they will never tell you why you were there. They will just say, we came to visit you and see how you are doing, and yeah.
Did your conditions of detention improve following their visits?
No, the conditions remains the same. The only thing is that you feel like people at least out there are thinking of you by their presence on that very day, and that's it.
After you were released, can you tell us about the impact that your detention had on you as well as your family?
Of course, it was a big relief. That was the day we were really all praying for, to at least regain our freedom and join our families and our loved ones and friends. I was really happy to be finally released, and that after so long, the government could not find anything against me. That was really a big source of happiness for me. And I really felt it for my mom.
Please take your time, Mr. Badjie. And just to remind you, you have a bottle of water right in front of you if you'd like to drink some water.
She was a strong woman, and definitely all those years she stood firm and continued praying for me, and I'll be forever grateful for her.
After you were released, well, let me put it differently. Prior to your arrest and detention, you were the Commissioner of Police for operations. Mm-hmm. Did you at any point receive a dismissal letter, for example?
Yes, I received a dismissal letter dated on the 16th of April 1996 from the police, informing me that I'm dismissed from the Gambia Police Force with effect from 2nd February 1995.
That sounds very unusual.
And that was the situation.
So essentially the dismissal letter came over a year after you were arrested and detained, and then backdated to a few days after your arrest.
That's correct.
And so apart from that letter, well, as a result of that letter, did you at any point receive any kind of benefits or salary from the police?
Because when you are dismissed, you don't receive any benefits.
But did you eventually receive some benefits or your salary?
The salary stopped that very day. I'm sure they stopped it that very day, based on the letter they had.
But which you only received a year and some months after?
Yes, after I was reinstated, and the letter was from the Ministry of Interior, dated 19th November 1996.
Tell us the contents of that letter.
They said, in the interest of the service, you are reinstated as Commissioner of Police Grade 12 with effect from 2nd February 1995. 1995, yes.
So essentially nullifying your dismissal from the service. That is strange as well. So what happened after that? Did you receive any of your salaries or benefits from 95 up until 96?
I was paid the whole period of my detention. And I went back to the police as Commissioner of Administration.
So this time a slightly different portfolio?
Yes.
And for how long did you remain as Commissioner of Administration?
I remain as Commissioner of Administration up to January 27 when I was appointed Minister of Interior.
January 27th of which year?
1999.
And for how long did you hold the position of Minister of Interior?
I held the position of Minister of Interior up to 2003.
You gave me a copy of your appointment letter when you were appointed as Minister of Interior.
Yes.
I will ask the usher to bring it back to you so you can identify it.
Okay.
And thereafter, I would like to talk about your responsibilities as Minister of Interior at the time.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes, that's my letter of appointment.
And perhaps you can hold on to it
Okay.
while we discuss your responsibilities as Minister of Interior. So you held that position for from 1999 to 2003. Can you tell us what your responsibilities were?
My responsibilities, as stated in the letter, include A, conducting in Cabinet and in the National Assembly business relating to matters within my portfolio. B, putting into effect, in collaboration with appropriate public officers and other secretaries of state, the decisions taken in Cabinet relating to such matters. C, initiating policy on all matters within my portfolio.
And that is quite a general appointment letter.
Yes.
So I would like to talk a little bit more in concrete terms, what your responsibilities were in actual fact. So let's focus on the issue of internal security.
Yes.
Can you tell us about your responsibilities as far as it concerns internal security?
I think as far as internal security is concerned, the responsibility lies mainly on the Inspector General of Police. At my level, it's only policy and, of course, the welfare of all those law enforcement agencies under the ministry.
And when you say policy, what type of policy issues would that involve?
Now, when we talk about policies, is like development policies of the police, the immigration, the fire and ambulance services, as well as the prison services. Of course, expansion of police barracks in the country, police stations. It is the responsibility of the ministry to liaise with the Ministry of Finance and local government to find land and also the funds to build those stations and, of course, the barracks for the families. We will also negotiate with our line counterpart ministries for the welfare of the forces under the Department of State, for their canteen, the feeding of the men and women in uniform.
What about issues concerning weapons and ammunition? What was your role in relation to that as far as policy is concerned?
Our role as a ministry is to facilitate when we receive a request from the Inspector General of Police, a request of weapons, they will send it to the ministry, and we in turn we will write to the Ministry of Finance for the purchase of the weapons that the police are requesting.
I'd still like to focus on the period in which you were Minister of Interior, so from 1999 to 2003. You mentioned that matters of internal security generally fall under the Inspector General of Police.
That's right.
Who did the Inspector General of Police report to?
The Inspector General of Police can report both to the Minister and to the President of the Republic.
What was the standard practice in general?
In general, mainly, most of the time, he will report to the Minister of Interior, but in other cases involving investigations, they liaise more with the Department of State for Justice.
But in your role as minister, you would be responsible for answering questions regarding the police as well.
Yes, I'll be responsible before the National Assembly for answering questions concerning the police.
What about before the cabinet?
Before cabinet as well.
So essentially you were supervisor or boss of the IGP, so to speak.
I will not say supervisor because the law did not say it, but I will say I was the mouthpiece of the police in the National Assembly and in cabinet.
So you would receive information from the Inspector General of Police concerning matters of internal security,
That's correct, ma'am.
Perhaps before we go further, can you give us an idea of the structure of the police force during that period?
During that period, the organogram of the police force, you have the Inspector General of Police, the Deputy Inspector General of Police, 2 commissioners of police, one of operations and the other one administration. And then you have the divisional commanders in the 7 administrative areas. Under them you have the police stations. And on the other side you have the police intervention unit, which as a specialized unit of the police is under the Inspector General of Police, but on operational matters to the Commissioner of Operations.
Just to be clear, so the police intervention unit on operational matters would refer to the Commissioner of Operations, which then, of course, would go to the IGP, right?
That's correct, Ma, because as a special unit, the police intervention unit cannot be deployed without the approval of the Inspector General.
And we will come back to that. I know that as Minister of Interior at the time, your portfolio went beyond the police. So it included other services.
That's right.
Perhaps it's good to just give us an idea of those, because my focus is really on the police. But let's have an idea of which other forces you were, units you were responsible for.
Yes, other than the police, I was having the Gambia Immigration Department, the Fire and Ambulance Services, as it was called then, and the prison services.
So focusing still on the issue of internal security and the IGP reporting matters of internal security to you, because of course you've told us that you need to answer questions at Cabinet as well as before the National Assembly. Mm-hmm. When it came to matters such as intelligence reports concerning issues that were happening in the country, that presumably is something you would have access to, where it was necessary to, of course, inform Cabinet or the National Assembly, correct?
Yes. Intelligence reports, we have the police CIU, Criminal Intelligence Unit, which, of course, will do their findings, research, and submit the report to the Inspector General of Police, who in turn will also brief me on the situation.
Can you tell us more about how those briefings were conducted? What format would they take, and in which kind of instances would you receive such
Those
briefings?
briefings are normally in the form of a meeting with the Inspector General of Police, who will come and highlight the salient issues or the burning issues of the time. And because some intelligence report is better not to leave copies, it should be verbal as well.
And so you would receive these reports either in person, through a briefing, or reports, correct?
Yes, through report.
Perhaps focusing a little bit more on how that information flowed generally. Hypothetically speaking, if there was supposed to be instructions coming from either from any member of the cabinet, so any of the political appointees or the president himself, presumably based on what you've explained, that would go through you to get to the IGP.
Yes, ma'am.
That would be the normal course of events.
That's right, ma'am.
Okay. So perhaps let's go a bit more into the events of April 10 and 11th.
Right.
But just before that, I think it would be a good idea to just get more about your career after you were Minister of Interior, just so we know your entire progression, and then we'll come to the specific events of April 10 and 11.
Yes, ma'am.
After you left as Minister of Interior in 2003, what was the next position that you held in government?
After I left in 2003, the government, I worked for the UN mission in Côte d'Ivoire. Up to 2005, I came back home. It coincided with the 2006 elections. And in 2007, I was appointed ambassador of the Gambia to Morocco.
And for how long did you have that position?
I remained in that position for 5 years, up to 2012, when I was moved to France as ambassador of the Gambia as well.
And for how long did you serve as ambassador, Gambian ambassador to France?
I served for 2 years, 2012 to 2014. I was recalled and appointed Minister of Works and Infrastructure.
And can you tell us which year, not the specific dates if you don't know, but which year you served as Minister of Works?
I think I have my appointment letter, if you may allow, Deputy Lead Counsel.
Yes, indeed. Please refer to it.
This was... I was appointed Minister of Works in August 2014.
And for how long did you hold that position?
No, it was in August, sorry, on the 25th of August 2013.
So you would have been ambassador to France from 2012 to 2013 then?
Yes, to 2013, that's right, ma'am.
So Minister of Works from August 2013 until when?
Until 13th of November 2014, when I was relieved of my appointment.
After that, did you hold any other position in government?
No, after that, I did not hold any position. That was the end of my public career, service career.
So for the bulk of your career within the civil service, you were either minister or an ambassador, correct?
That's correct. No.
So thank you for that information. We can go back to April 10 and 11. I would like to begin with the events leading up to April 10 and 11. Can you tell us what information you were aware of concerning the issues surrounding the students' union at the time?
The information I got from the police was that the students were planning to have a demonstration because of the two incidents that happened, one with the fire service, who were having in their custody one student, Ibrahim Bari, if I may recall it, and whatever treatment they subjected him to, according to them, led to his death. And as a result, the student body leadership were not happy with that situation. That's one. And the other information I received is that the PIU, while on duty at the Independence Stadium, an incident of rape was reported accusing one of the police intervention unit officers.
So at the point that you received this information as Minister of Interior, these two incidents were being presumably investigated
yes,
by the police?
According to the IG and of course to the Chief Fire Officer, they were seriously looking into the matter.
But these matters came to your attention through a briefing by the IG, by the police.
That's
Who
correct.
in particular?
That's correct, by the Inspector General of Police.
As a result of this information, do you recall having any meetings with members of the student leadership at the time? And I'm referring to GAMSU in particular.
Meeting with members of the student leadership, I think we had a meeting at the Gambia College.
Prior to the meeting at the Gambia College, do you recall meeting the president of GAMSU?
No, the president of GAMSU, we met him well after the meeting in the college.
In which circumstances?
He came and my secretary announced that Mr. Omar Diouf was here. He's the leader of the Gambia Student Union and wanted to see me.
So let's take it chronologically. Let's start with the meeting that occurred at the Gambia College. Do you recall when that took place?
I don't remember the date, but I know for sure that I was in that meeting with the Inspector General of Police, the Deputy Inspector General of Police, and we met the principal of the college and some other community leaders in Brikama.
Can you tell us what the purpose of that meeting was?
The whole purpose of the meeting was to reassure the parents of the two victims as well as the student body that their concerns are well noted and taken care of. The police and the fire service are looking into the matter.
You say to inform the parents of the two victims. This was in Brikama, I take it?
Yes.
At Gambia College.
Mm-hmm.
Are you aware of the fact that one of the victims doesn't reside in that area at all?
I'm not aware. It's possible, but I'm not aware of it.
But your intention was to go meet community leaders as well as the students?
Yes.
And reassure them about the steps that were being conducted?
Because we were told that one of the victims was from Brikama, so that's why we decided to do so.
So having said that the objective was to reassure the the students as well as the families of those victims. What was your, can you tell us how that meeting went?
Now, of course, the meeting, when you go to a meeting, the host is the first to welcome you. And after welcoming you and introducing you to the audience, they will ask you to take the floor, which I did as the head of the delegation. And I explained the purpose of our presence there, that we are here to reassure them that these two matters are being handled by the right authorities, the two institutions, the fire service and the Gambia police force. And that, of course, that has to follow the due process. So they need to be patient and know that things will be done in accordance with procedures.
How did the students receive that information, the student leaders?
Yeah, it seems from my own observation, I think they were in a haste to expedite everything, but administration does not work that way. You have to go through procedures, especially when it involves death. That body has to be post-mortem to determine the cause of death. And the post-mortem report is a very important document for the file docket. And for the rape case, police have their own procedures. You have to conduct an identification parade in the presence of the victim and her family, where all those who were present, who were on duty that very day the incident happened,